Hello, my name is Devin Shea. I'm a 20-year experienced junior architect and AEC professional. I am a BIM expert, implementation specialist, and Revit consultant. I have worked on Revit projects in over 30 different disciplines, 5 countries, 15 states, and I've worked on Revit projects in every occupancy type. As a trainer and consultant, I have taught at 7 schools and 5 Autodesk training centers. I have taught over 2,000 professionals in Revit in 2 countries and 15 states. I have been teaching engineers, architects, and artists how to draw for over 20 years. Feel free to follow me on LinkedIn and YouTube and enjoy the videos. Welcome to another awesome tutorial. Today we're going to go over how to create as-built drawings using scan data. So what we're going to look at first here is Autodesk Recap, which is a point cloud processing program. So this will allow you to go out in the field with a 3D scanner and collect the existing geometry. So there's a separate video that I'm doing on how to process scans and how to register them properly. But today we're just going over the workflow of dealing with Revit. So the goal for today is we're going to look at this very large scan data, and then we're going to break it up into smaller pieces and then put it into Revit and then begin to draw the existing environment. So as you can tell, first of all, scan data is very, very large. So I could theoretically just jump over here into Revit and link this in and then go to town on it, basically. But if we turn everything on, so what's going to happen is this is just a big blob of little dots. So it becomes sort of hard to manage. So you want to break it up into different pieces. And then by breaking it into different pieces, that allows us to change our decimation settings, which is sort of like accuracy. The higher the decimation, the larger your file size, and the better accuracy. So what we're going to do here is figure out first how to just kind of move around in Recap. So all of the Autodesk programs are similar in the terms of navigating and moving around. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down here to the limit box, and I'm going to basically edit it here. So this is sort of like Revit's 3D crop box. So what you can do is you can crop out the scene a little bit to make this a little bit more manageable. So I'm just kind of going around here and clipping the scene a little bit. Okay, so that basically will clip my scene. I can't just use this box and close, kind of crop everything. I have to do a couple other things to make this smaller, because at this point, even though this is being cropped, I put it into Revit, it's still going to be the full scan. So what you can do here is get your, stop fighting me. Get your box however you want it, and I'll just hit confirm here. So basically this is cropping it. So what you would have to do is then come in and export this scene, which will export this into a different scan file, and it will just bring in this geometry. As you can see, I've already started doing this. So we need to get building 5. Excuse me for a second. I'm actually in the process of actually doing this for my work purposes. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reset my box. So I can go down here to this window command, and I can just come down here and grab a certain part, and then what I can do is hit this clip outside here, and then go to 3D, so that will sort of crop out my view. So I want to crop this just a little bit tighter because we don't need all of the tree data here. So get a little closer there, clip it again. Right now that I have this sort of clipped out, another thing you can do is I can just use my window here, and I can grab a certain amount of points, and then I can hit delete down here, which will delete those dots. Every dot is data and file size, so if you don't need the dot, you can delete it. So I am deleting those dots permanently from the scan. So keep that in mind. Delete. Okay, so now that I have all these cropped out, I'm going to go down here and go to export. Before I do that, go down here to export. We can also go in here to settings. Check out our settings there. Come on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just export this, and through the export dialog box, then I'm going to pick this. So you can also, this is where you set your decimation. So you can go down here and change your millimeters to make this more accurate or less accurate. So I'm going to hit let's go, and that's going to export my project. So while that is cooking, we'll come back here, and I am in the site. Okay, so once you get these dialed down, come on, the computer's choking. What's this one? Okay, so in this file, I have just inserted a smaller type of point, and I should have cropped that tree out. So once you get these in here, there's sort of an art to doing this. So I just want to take 1 second. I skipped something here, but I'm going to go back to insert point cloud. And what I'm going to do is just throw this building in here. So for positioning, we can do origin to last placed so that it goes in the same spot from the original scan. So this is a different building down here, but you can see how it went into its geo-coordinated position. So I'm just going to undo that. Okay, so what you want to do here is this would be the first level, so you have to set up your levels and your grids. But if we look at the scan itself here, whenever you import a scan, this scan did not have the interiors in it, so it's going to show just a big void in the scan. However, if we did do the interior, as you can see what's going on, the scanner picks up the actual ground. So if we want to see where our walls are being divided, we have to use our view range, and that will allow us to move our cut plane up and down. So if I just change this back to 1, so I'm cutting that at 1 so you can see where the ground is being cut out. So you have to be a little strategic on where your cut plane is, because you want to be able to cut out certain points that are not related to what you're doing. And then once you do that, then you can just come in here and start drawing your walls. So if I go in here and just start doing our walls, we can see where the edge of the walls are. So then you would just go in and trace around the walls. Once you do that, you have to then go in and figure out where your levels are and all that good stuff. So I like to come in and do a section, or an elevation would work, but section tool is a little more powerful for this. So by looking at a section, what I did was came in here and made some levels based off of my customization of where the levels would be. We can tell by looking at the scan here that this is on a sloped site, and we can't really tell where the interior walls are landing because it's underground. So it takes a little bit of planning and knowledge. So after you put in the levels here, you go to the various levels and add your walls. So if I grab these walls by using tab, go back to 3D. Let's do that again. Tab 3D. So I'm just going to use my section box here and crop that off. Crop that off. Okay, so using my section box, I can sort of see where the scan is interacting with the walls and whatnot. So if I just move this up a little bit here, I can see any incorrect placement or whatever. So this wall here is not technically there. So B2 to B4. B2 to B4. So I'm going to grab this guy. I'm going to fix that level. So this looks like it's not even supposed to be here, but yeah, shit up. Boop. Okay, so there we go. I fixed that one. So basically, you just have to be methodical about how you draw your AsBuilts. So first, I come in and plan. I draw the walls where they are. Then I have to address the verticality. So when the walls are going up from level to level, I have to figure out where they terminate and all this fun stuff. All right, and then once you get your walls placed, you can then come in and start adding your windows indoors. The next step after you sort of get all of your walls laid out, your floors laid out, then you can come in and start doing the roofs. So just by using the scan, first what I do is I kind of roughly lay them out, get their heights and their plan locations updated. And then go to town from there. So let's see if our scan is done cooking. It is. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, since I deleted a bunch of points, I'm just going to undo. Come on. As you saw previously, what I did was go in there and delete some points. So what I want to do is just undo a few times so I'm not permanently deleting those points that I put in there. And of course, my computer is slow because I'm just going to start hitting Control Z. Only going to go backwards a couple of times here. Okay, so what I just did was I undid all of the deleted points that I put in there, and then what you want to do is open the exported file if you want to delete those points. So let's go back to my window here. You can also use a fence. Okay. Okay, come on, fence. And my computer is choking. Alright, so we're just going to go back to window because that's fighting us. And we're just going to delete those. Point being is these little scans here, I only want the information for the house, and I don't care about the extra points, but you don't want to delete them from the main file. Okay, so deleted those. Now I'm going to hit save. It pulled up a message there telling me that I've deleted some points, and at that point I have the option to optimize it if I want. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the original scan here. So I was doing the 7mm. So as I open this here, the difference here, as I briefly showed you, is the decimation number here. So you have 19 and 7. So what that kind of theoretically means is if you zoom up to a space that is, let's say, 25 millimeters. If you have a 7mm decimation, theoretically that would mean that you would see 4 points because they would be sort of spaced at 7mm. So space of 24, you would see 4 points. If I set that at 20, I would only see 2 points. All right, so I'm going to open up the other one here. I'm going to go back to this file. So I'm in my site file here. And then I'm going to insert it. Okay. Insert this, origin last to place. And there is my building 5. So I only leave in the site file here, I want to leave the big scan in there because I want to reference any of the little scans just in case they happen to get moved or something. So then what you will do is I am creating a Revit file for every building in here. So I have like 11 buildings, so I'm going to have 11 Revit files. So I create a site file, I use shared coordinates, and then I link those in there. And the reason for that is this is a big slopey site, so the footprint of each building will have a different elevation. And just to manage all of that in one file would be very difficult. So that's why I want to create separate files and link them together. So to make sure that those are all geo-coordinated, I have this set up as a shared site. And if I go back to my smaller file, come on, computer. Okay, so here's my smaller site here. And I'll turn off my box. Okay, so let's say I want to now do building 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in my point cloud, original last place. Okay, so there's building 5. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all this stuff here, and I am going to delete it. Okay, and then obviously that's going to delete a bunch of views and whatnot. And now I'm going to do a, hold on everybody, make sure I save my file. Talking and doing is cause for mistakes. Okay, so now I have this put in there where it needs to go, so I'm going to go over here now and do a file save as, and I'm going to name this building 5. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my site file here, from the site file, and then I'm going to link Revit by share coordinates. All right, so there it goes. So now this is in its correct location in plan. And then I would go into my other Revit file and I would start drawing walls and all that good stuff. And then doing a linked file. Grab this one here. As you can tell, these point clouds are messy. Okay, and then if I grab this link here, that allows me to move the building location up and down based off of its Z location. Because you can see with this scan over here that it is much higher in elevation. And then what I did to begin with was I just came in here with some grids and I laid out rough spacing of it. So you can see my grids here are lined up in plan. So I do that very roughly using the site, the scan. And once I get these modeled officially, then we can shut off the scan and we can go in there and then get a little more precise with our measurements and whatnot. And then by putting those in and with the levels, so I basically, for levels, I went in here and basically just kind of laid these out as certain increments, making sure that I got the highest building on a level and the lowest building on a level. But this just establishes some datums for me that I can then reference through the linked model. So theoretically, this building would be sitting on this level, and so on and so forth. And then whenever I link the files together, I have the levels from the linked model here. And then I can go in here. Where'd you go? Site. Okay, so then I'm going to come in with a section. And I'm just going to put down a section here, go to the section. And then I can come in here to my levels. Keep in mind that these levels are not the levels that I want to coordinate to, but here, and put in some more. And then what I'm going to call these grid lines is B5 level 1. B5 level 2. Actually, I gotta be consistent here. And then just a reminder, these levels are black. The level heads are black because there's no floor plan to correspond with them. So then I can come down here and do a floor plan on these two levels. And then once I do that, section so we can see here that this is a level from the old model when I copied it. So I want to make sure I'm getting on the right level here. Again, with my view range, I want to make sure that this is set up correctly. Oh, sorry. I want to make this unlimited. Apply. And you can see things will change a little bit. So I'm going to use number 1. Nope. Number 3. That'll be good for now. And then you come in with your walls. And go to town. So this is a 4-inch wall here. It's actually a garage door. So as I draw the lines, you'll notice that, get that on the right angle. You'll notice that my walls are way thicker than what we're looking at in the scan. That is because there is no interior side of the scan. So the lines that we're looking at here around the boundary, that's just basically showing you the vertical surface of the scan points. So that's not giving us a realistic width. So what you would want to do is you scan the entire site like my man Richard Johnson, who did the scan. So you do the whole site, and then you come along and then do the interiors of each individual building. And then if I went back to the site and then scanned the interiors, I would use the little scans that we have here and merge those together, because putting the interior scan inside the entire site model would just make it way too chaotic. Okay, so I have those walls built there. Go in here and I'm just going to tab, grab them all. And then I want to use my level to level in this scenario because the levels, if they're tied to the levels, then I can just move the level down. So approximately correct there. Put down some annotations. So 9'3". Looks about right. Let's see if I can do. Nope. Going backwards already. Okay. And then I grab this level, 8'9". That's a bit much. Call that 8 foot. Alright, there we go. Then I'll just show you how to do a quick roof. So again, you want to start off with just kind of rough it out there. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and do a roof. Just copy here. Just trim those up, make sure they're good. Okay, so I'll go back to 3D, that plan out. So this one has no slope, and we'll test that out. All right, perfect. There we have a roof. So I like to go in and kind of do everything very rough, so you have all of the elements in there, and then you can come into 3D here and then add things. And then as we go along, we can see where we need to break up the walls or whatnot. This wall would need to be split right here, and then I'll move that one down, and so on and so forth. All right, so that is all I have for you today. This is how you deal with scans, scan data, and then importing it into Revit. Again, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, recommendations, leave me a comment in the YouTube comment box. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for stopping by. Be sure to subscribe and like and that notification thing and whatever YouTube stuff you guys do. Have a good one.